They had the talent, they had the fans, but behind the oche, some darts pros made one fatal choice. They fixed matches. Driven by greed, pressured by gamblers, or chasing fast cash, they crossed the line. And when the investigations came down, the sport exposed them. Bans, disgrace, careers destroyed. These are the biggest darts fixing scandals in history, and the corrupt pros who got caught red-handed. Coming in at number 1 is Andy Jenkins, a former World Championship semi-finalist and winner of 15 titles. Jenkins was once a fan favourite, known for his focus and fearless attitude on stage. But while he looked solid on the board, trouble was brewing behind the scenes. In a shocking move, the Darts Regulation Authority hit Jenkins with one of the harshest punishments in darts history, an 11-year ban. After a deep investigation into match fixing and illegal betting, they found that Jenkins, who was 54 at the time, had tampered with the results of 12 Moda Super Series matches between February 2022 and July 2023. On top of the ban, he was fined a whopping sum of £17,580 for making 88 bets on darts matches during that time. Some even involved games he was actually playing in. Initially, Jenkins denied cheating, but the case against him was backed by strong evidence. With help from the UK Gambling Commission's Sports Betting Intelligence Unit, investigators found suspicious betting patterns, messages, and data that exposed Jenkins' actions. But it didn't stop at his own matches. Jenkins was also accused of sharing inside info with others to help them bet and win. According to the DRA, this was a key reason for the severe punishment. The ban officially started on November 15th, 2023, and it means Jenkins can't compete in any DRA-sanctioned event until November 2034. For a man who once stood under the bright light of a major championship, this could be the end of the road. The fallout didn't end there. The punishment was clear. If you fix matches, you'll get caught and face serious consequences. But Jenkins wasn't the only one who was hit with such a huge sum as fine. Prakash Jiwa found himself in similar shoes. Prakash was once that player who gave hope to fans in 2 countries. Born in England but playing for India, he was known as a hard-working and respected darts player. But in 2023, everything he worked for came crashing down. But Jiwa's case stood out, not for his skills, but for how far he went. Investigators found that Jiwa fixed 4 matches and bet on several more. The DRA, alongside the UK Gambling Commission, showed clear proof. Jiwa didn't just break the rules once, he kept doing it. His punishment was harsh, but clear. He was banned from darts for 8 years, until November 6, 2031. On top of that, he was fined £17,741. This wasn't just about cheating, it was about breaking the trust of an entire sport. For someone who once fought hard to put Indian darts on the map, the fall was massive and everyone saw it. While Jiwa was quiet on the older side, coming up next is a teenage star who was meant to lead the next generation. But instead of trophies, his name got tied to something darker. At just 18 years old, Leighton Bennett was supposed to be the next big thing in darts. A youth world champion, a rising star, and one of England's most talked about young players. He had the raw talent and confidence to take on the sport's elite. But in a shocking twist that shook the darts world, Bennett's name is now imprinted in the sport's darkest chapter. For Bennett, it started with suspicious betting patterns that popped up after he played in the Moda Super Series in 2023. Then the rumours started, the investigations followed, and soon the evidence was clear. It wasn't just one mistake, it was 10 charges, with each one being worse than the last. Bennett was found guilty of fixing 4 separate matches. Not only that, but he was also caught giving out inside information about those games, an act that strikes at the very heart of sports integrity. And the misconduct didn't stop there. When investigators tried to get answers, Bennett didn't cooperate. He went as far as signing a contract with an unregistered manager, violating rules that are meant to keep players protected and the game transparent. Bennett's punishment was brutal, yet deserved. He was handed him an 8-year ban from the sport. But that wasn't all of it. Along with the ban, Bennett was ordered to pay £8,100, a sum that reflects both fines and costs. But perhaps the most public blow came when his sponsor, Target Darts, cut ties with him immediately after the ruling. Target's message was clear and sharp. Integrity, fairness, and respect for the game are key values. They went on to say that darts is rooted in honour and respect, and they would continue supporting only those who upheld those values. And just like that, one of darts' most promising futures vanished. Like Bennett, the next player also saw a promising future take a sharp turn due to a pivotal mistake, leaving him with lasting regrets. When match-fixing scandals hit the headlines, they often feel like distant stories from the shadows of sport. But in 2023, the world of darts faced a wake-up call, one that reached right into the heart of the Modus Super Series. The alarm bell started ringing with suspicious betting activity tied to 4 matches. What looked like routine fixtures suddenly drew intense scrutiny from the International Betting Integrity Association. And once the Darts Regulation Authority stepped in, it didn't take long for things to unravel. At the centre of it all was Billy Warriner, a player from England who would soon become one of the most heavily punished figures in darts history. Warriner, along with Leighton Bennett, was investigated for serious breaches of DRA rules. By November 2023, following months of suspension, both were found guilty at a formal hearing. What came out of it wasn't just a few bad bets, it was a full-blown operation. Warriner admitted to 19 out of 21 charges. To everyone's surprise, he was found to be involved in fixing all 4 matches, organising betting, acting as an unregistered agent, and providing inside information. But that's just a small part of the whole story. Warriner also failed to cooperate with investigators multiple times and, in a separate event, he threatened an opponent and was abusive toward a match official, a display of misconduct that left officials no choice. As you would expect, his punishment was heavy, a 10-year ban from darts, and similar to Bennett's fine, Warriner also received an £8,100 fine in legal costs. While others deflected or denied, this next player did something rare. He owned up to the pressure and took full responsibility. Unfortunately, his confession came far too late. Sometime in 2020, as the sporting world scrambled to adapt during the global pandemic, darts found an unusual way to keep the game alive: remote competitions. The Modus Live League, a series of online matches with players competing from home, offered a lifeline for fans and professionals alike. But behind the screens and scoreboards, the integrity of the sport was being tested in ways no one saw coming. Wessel Nimman, a young and promising talent from the Netherlands, was caught in the middle of a scandal that would shake the foundations of professional darts. When suspicious betting activity was flagged by the authorities, they launched an investigation into multiple matches that were played during the Live League. The results were shocking. They found that Wessel Nimman had engaged in deliberate match fixing. As a result, he was immediately suspended from participating in any DRA-sanctioned events while proceedings were underway. What followed was an unflinching public admission. Wessel Nimman didn't deflect or deny. Instead, he took ownership of the mistake. "I was put under some pressure to lose a match, and I agreed to do this," he said. "I have admitted the offence and take full responsibility for it and will accept my punishment." His words were heavy with regret. He acknowledged that he should have spoken up to his management or even the authorities instead of going along with the fix. "It was a one-off error of judgment which I want to put behind me and do everything I can to put it right." Wessel Nimman expressed deep remorse to his family, management and fans, and made it clear that while he had failed personally, he didn't want his mistake to reflect on the sport he loves. Rather than retreat in silence, he pledged to use his experience to educate others, hoping that by owning his misstep, he could help prevent future ones. Wessel Nimman received a 5-year ban, with half of it suspended for cooperation. It meant he could return to the sport after 2.5 years, but his reputation took a massive hit. But this was only half the story, because while Wessel Nimman came forward, admitted guilt, and asked for forgiveness, but he wasn't alone on this one. Once a rising star from Northern Ireland, Kyle McKinstry looked set for a solid career in darts, especially after reaching the quarterfinals of the BDO World Championship. But in 2020, his journey took a shocking turn when he was handed an 8-year ban by the Darts Regulation Authority for match fixing and failing to provide itemized phone records during an investigation. McKinstry's downfall stemmed from 2 online matches in the A night at the Darts series, where he lost 5-0 to David Evans and 5-1 to Wessel Nimman, both results flagged for suspicious betting activity. He later admitted to fixing the match against Evans. The DRA found all charges against him proven, including a failure to cooperate during the investigation. This ban, backdated to August 2020, will keep him out of the sport until 2028. While McKinstry later expressed regret and spoke of rebuilding, his case remains a sobering example. In darts, integrity is everything, and once it's lost, the road back is long and uncertain. As the dust settled on McKinstry's case, the sport barely had time to breathe before another scandal emerged, this time from within the heart of England's rising talent pool. The darts world thrives on tension, but not the kind Jack Mayne brought to the stage. Once seen as a promising name in English darts, the 27-year-old is now making headlines for all the wrong reasons. In a bombshell ruling, Mayne has been slapped with a 2-year ban after being found guilty of match fixing. It all unravelled after a seemingly ordinary match on June 2023. Mayne faced off against Lisa Ashton in the Modus Super Series and lost 4-0. But something about that match didn't sit right. Not with the fans, not with the bookmakers, and definitely not with the darts regulation authority. Suspicious betting patterns lit up the radar. Bets were being placed in ways that didn't make sense, unless someone knew exactly how that match was going to end. That's when the investigation began. The inquiry pulled apart every detail of that match. In the end, the evidence spoke louder than the scoreline. Mayne was found guilty. As you would expect, he had to pay dearly for it. Mayne was banned from all DRA events until December 31st, 2025, shutting the door on his professional career, at least for now. To add insult to injury, he was hit with a £762 fine. Once a tour card holder, Mayne is now more known for scandal than skill. Mayne's fall from grace was a warning shot to the darts world, but it wouldn't be the last. Just months later, another name made the headlines for all the wrong reasons, this time from the other side of the globe. He came from the soft-tip circuits of the Philippines, hungry for a shot at the big stage. But by the time Gilbert Ulang walked off the iconic Alexandra Palace stage in December 2016, he wasn't remembered for his darts. He was remembered for the scandal. On paper, it was a standard preliminary match. Ulang versus England's Kevin Sim at the 2017 PDC World Darts Championship. 2 sets. Both went the distance. But for those paying attention, something didn't sit right. In the deciding leg of the second set, Ulang's darts went cold. He threw a limp 26, then 41, then 45. When he needed 109, he bafflingly went for treble 18 after hitting a single 20. It didn't look like pressure, it looked like sabotage. Behind the scenes, alarms had already gone off. Between December 11th and 14, 2016, 136 suspicious bets were placed in betting shops across London, Oxford, Cambridge, and beyond. The CCTV told a story. A group of men placing coordinated bets over and over again on just 2 matches. Online, attempts were made to place nearly £90,000 in bets. Some were blocked, but not all. The total was a staggering £72,278 in profit, all on 2 obscure matches that frankly shouldn't have attracted that kind of attention. The other match, involving Japan's Masumi Chino, was eventually cleared, but Ulang's case went further. A criminal investigation by the UK Gambling Commission passed the baton to the Darts Regulation Authority, which led to a formal hearing in London on May 23, 2018. Ulang was found guilty. Ulang was found to have deliberately thrown the match. He was hit with a 7-year suspension, lasting until December 2023, but it didn't stop there. He was also ordered to pay £2,500 in legal costs. A key moment in the hearing came from former pro Wayne Mardle, who analysed the footage and concluded what fans had suspected. Ulang was not playing to win. Ulang claimed he wasn't cheating, just jet-lagged, and drunk. But to the DRA, that didn't explain the bets, the miscounts, or the bizarrely timed misses. Ulang had earned his shot at the world stage, and then, in one strange crooked night, he threw it all away. Ulang's story further proves that one moment of dishonesty can erase a lifetime of dedication. The dartboard may be still, but behind the scenes, the game never sleeps, and neither do those who protect its integrity. And while match fixing might be one of the most explosive scandals in darts, it's not the only one. Some players didn't fix matches, they bent the rules in other shocking ways. Let's take a closer look at 5 darts pros who were caught cheating when they thought no one was watching.